Sykkuno and his girlfriend put out a statement. I think we should start there, talk about it. Of course, last week, if you recall, we basically covered a couple victims coming out saying that Sykkuno either lied to them, lied about having a girlfriend, cheated with them, engaged in infidelity, cheated on his girlfriend. We had a live-in girlfriend. And then we found out from his friends in quotation marks, friends. Some of them didn't even know he had a girlfriend. I saw a guy say, oh my gosh, like Sykkuno would always say to us, like, I wish I had a relationship like yours. And the whole time the guy had a girl, like, I mean, people just don't know each other, right? And so he put out a statement on X. I wanted to read it because it also has a message from the girlfriend. And apparently people were very upset because allegedly, and I haven't read the statement yet, but allegedly she stayed with him, which I want to explain, if that's the case, why that happens and why it's hard to leave. And I think before we even get into it, let me just say, imagine being in a world where like you really love a person and they make a mistake and you've been taught your whole life not to leave when people make mistakes. But even more than that, we know it's not a mistake. We know it was deliberate. But there are so many people who are even in the comment section of my video saying like, he's not abusive. He didn't target teenagers. You're exaggerating. That's not true. He's not a predator. Girl, okay, let's talk about the statement. Here it is. This is his X account, a message from me and my girlfriend. I would like to apologize to everyone I have disappointed. Most of all to my girlfriend. I'm so sorry I put you through so much. I never want to make these mistakes again. And I hurt you and the people I care about. Red flag, mistakes. It's not a mistake. A mistake is bumping into someone at the grocery store because you were beelining it straight for the hot Cheetos, okay? That's a mistake. My bad, I stepped on you. My bad. Mistake. Sorry. This was deliberate. This was on purpose. This was coordinated. This was a long time. This was on purpose. This was not a mistake. Okay. He said, I was unfaithful. I own and fully admit to that. I lied. Well, he was caught and exposed. So, okay. He didn't own up to, you know what I mean? Okay. I lied to people and told them I was single, which I know is not right. He's a 35-year-old man. I'm sorry to all of the people that I hurt by doing this. The following is not an attempt to minimize what I have done. However, I've seen false accusations about me that are not true. Already down, minimizing. So now you're already minimizing, right? I cannot allow false accusations and such extreme labels to be placed on me. I do understand that the people making these claims did it from a place of hurt, so please do not send any more hate to anyone. I just want the situation to get better, and I wish them the best. So he's already doing it. We're like 2 paragraphs in, and before you've even really truly said I'm sorry, it's like, let me defend myself. Okay. My girlfriend and I didn't respond quickly because we were already working on our relationship and communication before all this happened. Having so much private information exposed to the public has made it incredibly difficult for us to heal together. Oh, so now it's our fault. So now it's our fault that your relationship is tough, right? That's what he's saying. Instead of recognizing that you were the one cheating on your girlfriend. You're the one, like excuse me? Okay. It says, I will be taking a break from streaming in the internet to better myself and give us the time we need to try and improve our relationship. So basically, I'm going to isolate my girlfriend and give her no outlet. Also isolate myself and give no access to anyone, give no one access to me. And I'm going to re-brainwash and propagandize my girlfriend so she will be convinced that I'm just a sweet boy who, tee-hee, made a mistake. And she can't leave me because if she leaves me, where will I go? How will I be? Who would I be? Even though he told the girl on the phone, that 17-minute phone call, that like, oh, he thought it would get better. He thought it would get worse. Like, this is horrible, okay? I'm already upset. I'm already annoyed, okay? How many times have we heard this? How many times do we have to see a pattern before we know what this is? We know what this is, okay? He said, thank you so much for reading. I will continue to learn and grow from this experience. That's it. That's his statement. That's crazy. That's it. That's all he gave us, right? Follow up. My girlfriend wanted to share her experience. Below is a message written by her. Look at in contrast how much he wrote and then look how much she wrote. He wrote, look how much she wrote. This is exactly the relationship. Is this not a physical manifestation of exactly the putting in the effort? Hello? Okay. Hi there, she says. I want to start by saying thank you to those who have been checking on me and wishing me well during this difficult time. Such a difficult time. It's been extremely heartbreaking to learn everything I now know, and going through this has been one of the hardest things I've ever been put through in my life. Just FYI, the probability of there being more is very high. That's the dilemma with trying to fix things right after you hear bad news, is you haven't given all the bad news time to surface. I promise you, like, this isn't it. Learn learn from somebody who was cheated on her in her 20s, the first thing you learn is not the first thing you're going or the last thing you're going to learn. For the next like 2 years, you're going to be finding out new information about stuff you didn't even realize, because it's just speaking from experience. Okay. She says, I've been tossed around from all sides. Me and my reality have been continuously shattered. Though no matter how broken I am, I never wanted this to be public. It deeply hurts me that I wasn't given a choice in that, and even just warned that this would be happening at all. I didn't want this. Okay, so she wasn't even given a heads up. Okay, that's hard. That's hard to know. Like, do you need to inform the victim if you're a victim? And also, I will say that I have stopped myself about saying things about men because the victims have asked me to, and it kind of haunts me every day that I don't tell people what I know, but I can't because it didn't happen to me. It happened to them. And so there's like something about Sykkuno's victim wanting to come out and tell her story. It is one of those things where regardless of how the girlfriend feels, especially if she's going to stay with him and protect him, she doesn't get a say in this. Like, not at that point. If you protect predator, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I still understand from the human perspective how horrible that is, because you can't even mourn in private. And I even know, like, I know some girlfriends of mine who went through divorces, how people spread rumors about like why the divorce was happening, which was like not true. And it was like really heavy. Even in a divorce that went pretty well, there were like, there's a heaviness, and people talk about you. They talk about you at work. They talk about you, and they have regular jobs. They are not streamers. So, you know, I can understand that. I mean, we know what happens in personal life. Like, you talk about your coworkers. So I get it. Okay. I can be empathetic to that. She goes on to say, even after the fact, I wish they would have at least checked in on me or asked me how I felt about everything, but I haven't heard anything from the people involved since this all came out. I understand that those involved with him have been hurt as well, but I don't believe my feelings were considered in the situation at all. If your feelings were taken into consideration, would you have asked the victims to silence themselves? Because what it sounds like in this letter is that you would have asked the victims to silence themselves. I'd hate to think that's true, but it feels a little bit like that's what she's implying. And based off of Sykkuno's message, it sounds like that is what would have happened. So maybe the victims knew that like you weren't going to, and if they don't know you, if they're just learning about you, do you know what I'm saying? They didn't know you. So it does feel like, I could get it from a human perspective, and also, right? Okay. Having my worst fears become my reality, then put on display and used for profit for everyone to see is absolutely mortifying. It truly feels like a nightmare. It was already hard enough trying to work through things in private. This has just added another layer of difficulty and stress on top of everything, which, you know, their relationship was already a problem. So that's another part. Their relationship was already toxic. They were already having problems. And he was the one who was cheating, right? Just as for profit, so she's victim blaming. No, I think she's talking about me and us. I think she's talking about YouTubers like us who cover the story. I mean, we made money off the story. So I think she's talking about us. And maybe the initial YouTuber who put it out, but I don't think she's talking about the victims doing it for profit, because they didn't even post it in a video they made. They let another guy post it, and then we all made a lot of like, not a lot of money, obviously. I'm not a big creator, but like a lot of people could have made a lot of money. Like anyone making 100,000 view videos on this, which I did not, obviously, made at least like $1,000, right? So that's a pretty big deal. If you got 100K on a video, you've probably made $1,000, give or take. If the video's monetized, right? It could be 500, could be 1,000. Let me see. But I still think her making this statement kind of discounts what Sykkuno did. Instead of her rallying with the victims and being like, fuck this guy, it sounds like she's saying like, what about me? And I'm like, yeah, what about you? And also like, whose side are you taking? You know what I mean? Like, are you taking your own side and liberating yourself from both parties and saying like, I don't want to be involved with any of you? Or like, what are you doing? So it's like, it's hard because victims do often stay with abusers or toxic partners because there's a, you know, a hope that maybe something, I don't know, right? Insert hope here, right? Let's see, prior to all this, okay, so ultimately, okay, prior to all this becoming public reality, making changes to improve our relationship. Okay, hold on. Okay. I ultimately made the decision to stay with the hopes of repairing our relationship together. Prior to all of this becoming public, we were already making changes. And while I could have chosen to leave, I ultimately made the decision. Is she saying I ultimately made the decision prior to the allegations or now? Even though all the things I've learned are incredibly disappointing and shocking, I don't think they are irredeemable. Oh, it's been hard handling things unfolding this way, but I believe this will be the step in the right direction. With hope, I hope everyone can focus on healing and better versions of them and being better versions of themselves. Oh no, girl. She's staying. Okay. It's hard. And this is why we say, like, often in situations where men cheat, like, women do end up being more victimized. You know, and then my heart breaks for her. I'm so sad for her. And yet I know this is exactly how it works. This is exactly how it goes. You know, you really want to believe that you can make it better. I mean, I've done it, right? I've absolutely believed, like, I can get him therapy. We can make this work. I'll, you know, da 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 da. And then you realize, like, no, that's just who they are. And that's really hard. Like, how did I not know I was with such a horrible person? Well, that's why philosophy is my favorite topic. It's why introspection and therapy is so important to me, because with the right therapy, with the right philosophy, you have a radical acceptance element, DBT element, a philosophical element, Buddhist element that tells you, oh, like, I cannot control other people. I can only do right through my own values. I cannot control whether not my partner cheats on me. So if my partner cheats, my partner cheats. It is what it is. Like, that's their choice. My choice is whether or not I stay or leave. And every time you stay, when people disrespect you so deeply, you are self-harming. So the question is, how long are you going to self-harm before you realize you are self-harming? And that is the problem. That's why being a victim is so difficult. It's why she is being victimized. She is abused because he's allowing her to self-harm. And he's saying, wow, you really love me. Wow, the way you hurt yourself for me, I really like that. So not only does he not love her because he deliberately hurts her through cheating, but he witnesses the love of his life, allegedly, hurting herself in the name of their love and goes, thank you. Evil, bro. Philosophically evil. And so that's what it is. It was the realization for me, at least in my 20s, to look at the partner that I thought I was doing all this work for, I was putting all this energy into, only to recognize, like, oh no, this is who they are. And if I stay, then this is who I am. And I need to be somebody else. I cannot be somebody who stays. I don't want to be that girl. This cannot be my story. And so while I stayed, I was the girl who stayed. So I get her. I've been her, right? As somebody who became somebody different, sometimes it takes the right person in your life to give you permission. For me, it was my ex's mother who gave me the permission that I eventually chose to act on, which was like, you don't have to save him. This is not your job. And it was like, yeah, you know, like, I don't have to, this isn't my job, you know, but I thought it was my job. Like, if I really loved him, I thought this was my job. But the truth is it's not. And the truth is, I didn't unconditionally love him. He wasn't inner circle. There was conditions on our relationship. There were conditions on my love. Versus in my now married relationship, there are no conditions on my love. There are just conditions on whether or not I stay based off of abusive, like anything abusive happening. And I think that was the struggle. Like, I don't love my ex anymore. He's just a guy I dated in my 20s. I don't miss my ex-girlfriend. I don't miss my other ex-boyfriend. Like, they're just people I dated in my 20s. The question is, do you unconditionally love Sykkuno, or is he just a guy you dated? You know, I don't know how old she is. Does anybody know? It's like, is he, because I think a lot of the time, it's not that it's not love. It's not that you're not in love. But like, is this unconditional? Is this like a child? Is this like a cousin? Is this like a parent? Is this like somebody that, you know, is this like your best friend that you love unconditionally? Like, I love a lot of people unconditionally that I don't talk to anymore. But my love is not conditional. I will always love them. I will always feel connected to them. I will always be available to them within reason. But people I used to know, do not message me. This is why I say, like, I don't want to hear from my exes. As far as I'm concerned, you are strangers. If I see you in public, do not talk to me. But if you are like one of my brothers that I'm not talking to right now and you see me in public, obviously, like, I would want to talk to you. You're my brother and I love you. Even if we don't talk in our normal life because there's boundaries put down, it feels different. You know what I mean? So again, like I know this is hard for people to recognize because they don't know the difference. Like a lot of people don't have one single person on this planet that they unconditionally love. And so they don't understand the idea. We also come from bubbles that weaponize unconditional love. And they say, if you unconditionally love me, you must self-harm in name of that love. And I say, no. Real unconditional love is a feeling that exists outside of physical contact. It just exists. Now, whether or not you take action because of that unconditional love, that's separate. There is no writing in stone what action must follow unconditional love. Okay, these are two different experiences. So don't let people weaponize it against you and say, oh, because I'm assuming that's kind of what Sykkuno's doing, right? Well, if you really love me, you'll do this. And she's like, yeah, if I really love him, I'll do this. And I'm saying, these are two separate things. Loving people and doing something, two separate actions, two separate experiences. Because I do things for people I don't love every day. I do nice, considerate, thoughtful things for people I don't love every day. Right? Like if I could, like if I donated a kidney to somebody and it was a stranger, I don't love them. But some people say, oh, I would never donate a kidney unless I love somebody. Okay, that's your condition. But a lot of people I don't have that condition. That I would only donate to a kidney to somebody I love. I don't care, right? What do I have to love you to donate to you? I don't get it. But some people, so you have to decide, like, do I love them? And then what does that mean? They say if you love it, let it go. If you love this girl, let her go, Sykkuno. But he doesn't because he's willing to watch her self-harm. Just like my ex was willing to watch me self-harm. He would rather I stay in that toxic relationship crying every night because, quote, we love each other, than letting me go to live my life. And I knew that because after we broke up, he consistently tried to call me. He tried to contact my parents. He sent letters. He would not leave me alone, right? He bombarded my comment sections that I had to delete and block him. He kept writing posts about me. He would not let me go. So he would rather watch me drown. I mean, he literally was the definition of person drowning and you go to save them and they try to take you down with, and I'm just not about it. So again, Sykkuno seems like this to me, just based off the little we've seen of him in public, that he is literally willing, as a 35-year-old man, willing to let this girl stay in a long-term relationship in which he's been serial cheating on her, which he's been lying and deceiving her, which he's been doing all these things behind her back, being a little fuckboy behind her back, and then to embarrass her further, to allow her to make this statement. How embarrassing. How much humiliation is he willing to let her go through by even allowing her to post this on his 35 million view post? 35 million views on this post. 35 million views on this post. He let this girl be humiliated because now they're like, oh, she stayed. What a loser. She doesn't care that she was cheated on. See, women don't care. Now, all the misogynists and all the fucked up people on the internet are just going to double down on how these women aren't victims. And these women don't matter, and they're so selfish, and they just want Sykkuno for his money. They're not going to see any good in this woman. They're just going to see that another, insert derogatory word here for women, stays with another rich man for clout. And he let her do that. On his page, he probably sat there and goes, please, I need you to write a letter. Please, I don't want the internet to hate me. Please. He probably begged her. And against her free will, given that she seems to be very private, he was like, please make a statement. Disgusting. Couldn't protect her in the relationship, couldn't protect her in this moment. Every single thing I've seen from Sykkuno says, I am willing to throw everyone under the bus to save myself. Fucking gross. Absolutely disgusting.